From a professional soccer career to becoming a driving force in the mortgage industry, Brian Covey has shown what it takes to find your competitive edge. Get off the sidelines and get in the game. Find your competitive edge with Brian Covey.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to another edition of Finding Your Competitive Edge. So today, I am super excited because you know how much I talk about branding, marketing, what it takes to really be successful today. We're going to dive deeper than that because I think today you're probably experiencing people that posture in a way, they front in a way. We're exposing fake gurus, people that don't actually have results. And so I'm excited to bring on one of my friends that actually not only studies this, but he's actually somebody I cannot wait to have a deep conversation about what's not being talked about. What should you be looking at in building your personal brand? How do you actually turn that into results in your respective category? And Roland Cochrun has actually built this. He works with loan officers and people in the real estate industry and helps them not only customize their brand for them, but one of the things I love, he says, build a life intentionally and by design. And many of us have been sold a lie. We've been sold a bill of goods. And we think over here, this one viral video is going to change your life forever. Well, we're going to give you a playbook actually to win today and actually create results in your own business. So I'm excited to jump right into this. We're going to cover a lot of things. You're going to grab a pen and paper. As always, you're going to have things that you're going to have questions on, but you're going to want to take action after it. So let's rock and roll. Roland, what's up, my friend?
Brian, what's up, my man? How are you? We're finally in the same city
How
for the first time.
bad?
I know.
Well, so I've been very impressed. I'm just got to tell you this. Like, we've hung out sometimes, but we haven't been able to go deep. And I know the people you coach and what you do, but I got to tell you, I respect what you're doing because a lot of times I'll see you post things. I go, I line up with that. I get where you're coming from. And you're one of the truest in the sense of people today, they all start to kind of blend together and look the same. And you've been able to set this up, especially like InDesign, living life intentionally. I hear you talk about that a lot. Like, where did that come from for you? Because I know, I watch how you live and you live in alignment with what you say.
Oh, great question. It came out, so I didn't do it for you guys. I did it for me at first. And it's funny, I feel so dumb. I said, someone once asked me when I started, after I sold the business, I kind of started like dabbling in different things. Somebody asked me, Roland, are you gonna speak one day? What was the question? The question was, am I gonna see you on stage one day? And I responded without hesitation. I said, no. I'm like, that's not what I'm doing all this for. So how InDesign came about, my story is not uncommon. It happens to every high achiever, almost every high achiever, but I would say 99% of high achievers. You get to a point of accomplishment, achievement, and the bubble just gets popped. It's like you start to realize, you buy your first, it's usually like an M3 or an RS5 or an AMG, and that's great. And then all of a sudden that's kind of old news, and you want to get your exotic, and then you got this house that you want, and you get the house, and it's like after probably 2 or 3 of those iterations, you start to realize, man, is this going to go on forever? And it's like, I think some people actually don't mind it going on forever and they keep playing the game forever, and that's great. Yeah. I would say that's not common. I think a lot of people actually were hoping for some degree of fulfillment and there to be some sort of finish line, not because any of us really want to stop. It's that we would just really love it if the pressure kind of came off our shoulders one day. We just love it if we felt like, just like we didn't have to keep going and going. Sure. And so that was what happened to me, except for the pressure never went away. I actually found it get worse and worse and worse. I think a lot of high achievers find this happen. You start to, as you realize how capable you are, you keep elevating the bar, and the bar gets harder to accomplish. At first it was money. Money's not that difficult to get. You just do stuff that gets you money. But as you start wanting to change lives, influence others, lead people, do something that's never been done before, that starts getting harder and harder and harder the higher it climbs. So what was InDesign? I had to crack the code for myself because I was like, I was fortunate to sell my company when I was 31 years old.
Talk about that, because most people may not even know that backstory of you were in a completely different field, right? Like when I read that, I'm like,
I did what we all thought as kids. I was like, hey, I'm going to go follow my dream job. So mine was a physical therapist. So I got my doctorate from Pacific University. And I was like, I'm going to be a physical therapist and help rehab athletes or whatever. Any job that you do for like a year, is like every ounce of like joy is stripped from that job. And so, but now I'm in about $300,000 of debt from getting my doctorate degree. So it's like, okay, how do I get myself out of this? So I opened up clinics just to get out of debt because I was needed to find a way to get out of this mess. Turns out I'm good at business. And so I scaled them. And then, right when I got myself to a position where I could operate as a hands-off owner, private equity came in and said, hey, can we give you a check? And I said, no, I'm too young. And then they're like, well, here's how big it is. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, in that case, I'll sell. In that case, I'll sell. So that was what happened. And then again, the expectation was, oh, I'm going to finally I don't have to work anymore. So now I can finally relax. And I'll tell you what, the 6 months after I sold my business were the darkest 6 months of my life. I mean, just everything was so opposite of what I was sold that it was going to be. And that was tough. I had to redo everything.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people find that too. Is like they make a move, whether they're changing companies, changing industries. They think to get to a certain income level. I love you said like you accomplish these status symbols. You're like, that's going to be it. I'm going to be there. And they find out, wow, when you're pursuing your dreams, is kind of what I hear you saying. Is like that passion that you started to find, and really where you're called to be. Like, because all the business stuff, I always look at it and go, that's what taught you to do what you're doing now.
It's the difference, Brian, between. Somebody just asked me, a coaching client of mine just asked me this morning. He said, Roland, I'm having more, ever since I've hired you, I'm having more days of motivation, but I'm still having days of unmotivation. And that's a really good question. He asked me, why is that? And I love when people ask questions like that, because that why will help you way more than a lot of the other answers to a lot of the other questions you think you need to know. And how I answered that is exactly what you're talking about. I told him, hey, there's a difference between, how there's two different ways to identify. When you identify as yourself, selves are motivated to do something. They have a calling in life. When you identify as you and you do you things, those people are motivation. That's how you wake up fired up. You trust your gut. There's another way of identifying, though, and that is when we get caught up in a lot of what everyone else says is what we should be doing. And that's really, really easy to do, right? You look at a studio like this, you look at some of the cars people have, you're just like, oh, wow, I need to do that. And as that stuff piles up, that's not you. And so we engage in it and we expect to be motivated, and we find ourselves burned out, unmotivated. And the easiest way for me to explain that phenomenon is when you are doing you stuff, true self stuff, you're hardwired to be motivated to do that. But then when you shift over to this weird man-made constructed version of kind of a definition, your biology doesn't react to that definition. Your biology is like, bro, what are you doing? Like, what, you want that for what reason? And again, you're not asking yourself that question. You're like, shut up. I want it because everyone thinks it's cool. So why wouldn't I want it? Yeah, why wouldn't? But like I said, when you play in that arena, it's really hard. You'll procrastinate more. You'll put stuff off. Burnout happens. Even though, if you look at the definition of it, you would ask yourself, why would this not motivate me? That's the answer. I mean, it's just you can't outsmart your DNA. You can't get motivated to want something that you're not hardwired to want. It's just it's just not going to work.
Often you're sharing that, I think about like sports, and I go, man, I'm hardwired. Like I can just go watch soccer all day. You go put on a different sport. Like I won't pick on baseball, but I'm just going to say like baseball, hockey, other sports. You have me. I can't watch it for as long, and so there's just natural, like almost I'm drawn to do things that I love to do. And you mentioned something. I'd love for you to expand on this because you talked about motivation. And I don't think we've covered this much on the show. Do you think high performers struggle with motivation the way that we think? Because many times we look at a high performer in all kind of context. We think they're just always motivated. They just always have their why. They're just dialed in all the time. Tell me about what your experience has been being a high performer and also coaching them.
So, man, I wish we could change the screen behind your head and my head to. People know Abraham Maslow's work. It's very famous. It's one of It's one of the more tried and true psychological pyramids. And I think when we all see it, we all recognize it. But there's work that Maslow did later in his career that I find to be more kind of the most aha stuff that he ever discovered. No one talks about it. So what Maslow discovered was that when you look at his little pyramid, he found that in those bottom 4 levels, which are physiological needs, safety needs, love, connection, belonging needs, and esteem needs. So what falls into those is awards, right? That's esteem, being celebrated by others. Love, connection, belonging. One could even put status in that category. I do, because the reason we want status is the sense of inclusion and belonging. Safety, so that's financial primarily, and then also a little bit mental, and then physiological, right? Air, water, food, shelter. All of those things, what Maslow found was that as you complete those needs, as they become fulfilled, you become less motivated to fulfill them further once they're met. And so if you look at a lot of things, how many times do you get into President's Club before it's like, hey, they call you, hey, you made a President's Club. It's like, hey, can I send my LOA this year? Like, we've been traveling a lot. Like, I don't need, well, can we ship you the award? You guys hang on to it. I mean, it's just like, you can only get so many awards. The first time it was really meaningful. But then after a while, it's like, wow, that's not really what I want to be celebrated for. And so Maslow found this, and he found it with money. He found it with, when you got a lot of cool friends and you and your wife have a great relationship, those people don't hit hey, honey, I'm going to hit the bar on the way home, see how many more friends I can make. No, they go home, because that need is met. So the motivation to find more friends, their motivation for more money, their motivation for more awards is decreased because that need in that category is met. And that's this interesting thing about motivation. Everyone's always trying to get motivated. You don't get motivated. Motivation is a reward, and it comes when you engage in things and activities that you were hardwired to engage in. So if you look at Maslow, if you look at the pyramid, what's at the top? It's called self-actualization, is what Maslow chose to call it. Well, Maslow actually found the opposite with self-actualization, that so self-actualization is discovering oneself and expressing oneself. And what Maslow and his team found, this is work back in the 70s, 80s, what Maslow and his team found was the people who spent time finding out about themselves were more motivated to find out more about themselves. Yes. The people who expressed themselves and watched that have an impact on other people's lives wanted to impact more people, wanted to spread the impact to a greater audience and learn how to hone in their skills to impact even more people. They became more motivated. So that's my response to motivation. Is it's actually been pretty well scientifically discovered that it is a reward for engaging in behaviors that you were designed to engage in. And so you can't, if you want more money, but you really weren't desired to have that money for any particular reason, you're going to just have a harder time finding the motivation to get it because you got enough to do the thing that you were on. You'll be like, well, no, that's not true because my house isn't big. Again, that's a you thing. Anytime we try to step in and play God and kind of rewire what we were designed to do, it's never going to end well. I've tried.
Hey guys, it's Brian here. I hope you are enjoying the show. By the way, if you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur looking to grow your personal brand, make a bigger impact, maybe increase your leads and grow your revenue, let's help you get started today by connecting up with my friends over at the Brand Builders Group. You've heard me talk about them, but if you're new here, this is definitely the first step to get you started in turning your reputation into revenue. Head over to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey. Again, to set up your free brand call, go to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey to set up a free strategy call with one of the team at Brand Builders, and they will dive into your specific goals for how you want to grow your personal brand. I can't wait to hear how it goes. I think we've all tried. We've figured these things out. I love that you share that because a lot of people I hear different answers, like how you get motivated. You hear different, like obviously one of the things we subscribe to is standards over feelings, and some things you'll hear that. But I love your answer because it takes us down a journey, and I love your take on this is personal development. And I was even sharing like a Jim Rohn quote earlier today, and it talks about your success will never exceed your level of personal development, right? And you hear people kind of reframe that and reshare it today. But I'd love for you to talk about that because I see you as being very intentional about personal development. You're helping other people. And it's almost down that line of like, you've got to continually, the self-actualization, you got to continually learn who you are, what you're called to do. And it never ends. Like I learn new things about myself. A lot of times my wife will share them with me of, hey, this is what you're really good at or called to do. I'm like, how did you see that or just know it's so obvious? So I'd love your take on this because it gets confused.
First thing I'll say right out to that comment you just made was it's hard to see your purpose because you've always had it. And so you just don't know what it's like to not have it. And so what you think is easy, you think everybody does it easily. And if you go to talk to somebody else, they'll be like, man, how'd you see that? It's like, oh, I don't know. I just saw it. And so your own purpose, the reason InDesign, my coaching program, we do 3 groups of 10 people is I used to do everything one-on-one. Well, what I found was I needed more consciousnesses to look at this one consciousness to pull there. Because again, I call it personal branding, but it's not personal branding. It's you. It's who you are. It's what you've been hardwired to do. But because you were born with it, it's really difficult for you to see anything unique about it because you've always been a Brian. Yeah. You've never been me. Whereas a room sits around me and like, man, that guy's weird. He thinks this way. He does this. That's easy for him. Everyone else finds that to be a nuisance. He doesn't find it to be a nuisance at all. That's what makes you. That's what makes you you. But it's really challenging to see on your own.
Yeah, and I've seen that. That's why we're both subscribers to this. I get in rooms like that all the time because people will see things. I'm like, that is me. And a lot of times we don't want to own that greatness, I say. It's like, you know many times what you're good at. Like I know what they are and there's things, and I've redesigned how I even approach like mortgage business. Because I remember there was a time I go, man, I hate this business. Like straight up. And I tell people this story a lot. It's like, I hated parts of the business because I wasn't approaching it the right way. So somebody's listening to that today, and maybe they're in an industry or somewhere, and they're like, okay, I'm starting to learn what I'm good at, what my purpose is. How do they start to use that to kind of serve others, right? And show up as that person in the market? Because if not, maybe they're a fraud, a phony. They're just showing up trying to be this other person.
I would rephrase it way more directly. I would say you're only designed to do things for others. So to me, if you're having a hard time figuring out how to do it for others, I think you're looking at it incorrectly. Because if you look at all of those needs on Maslow's hierarchy, safety, how do we get money? You add value to someone else's life and they give you their money for the value exchange. How do you get love, connection, and belonging? You become somebody that somebody wants to be around. You become somebody that somebody wants to invite into their podcast studio. Yeah. How do we get esteem? How do we win awards? You do something that people consider rare, remarkable, and unusually great. And so if you look at all of our needs, our hardwired needs as humans, it is impossible to get your needs met without getting someone else's needs met at the same time simultaneously. It's not possible. You cannot make money without helping someone. You cannot be their friend and have love, connection, belonging without being someone they find valuable and want around. You can't win awards and be celebrated without doing something that they consider noteworthy, exceptional, to give you an award. So I would say it's not as challenging as everyone thinks. They're always trying to like, how do I do this for other people? And it's that exact forced nature of it that makes it so hard to do. Whereas if you would be of the belief that, hey, I was designed at birth to create a change and fill some sort of void in somebody else's life. I have ample, like the stuff I've given you today is just some sliver of evidence. Yeah. I've got mountains of evidence, scientific evidence that will prove to you that you have been given a skill set and that your own needs will not be met unless you fulfill the needs of others. You were designed to fulfill your purpose. You were like, you just need to let it happen, and people don't. So like the InDesign formula that I invented for my coaching platform, that's all it is. It's okay, you were designed, and then we have all these assets, a mind, an identity, our attention. We have all these things to be able to get it out into the world. The problem is no one teaches us how to do it. And so it's this like crapshoot of just grabbing stuff, signing up for this coaching program, doing this. It's very haphazard. If you're lucky, people tap into it in their 40s and 50s. I would say most people die without tapping into it, which is that's really unfortunate when that happens. There's a lot of regret when that happens. There's a last thing I'll say on that is there's a survey. I can't remember what school did the study, but they asked everybody in every age category on when they were dying. So 20-year-olds who had terminal, who were within months of dying, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds. The answer was the same amongst every age category. They said, do you wish you had more time? Even the 20-year-olds said, no, I just wish I used the time I had better.
Interesting.
Every person. The 20-year-old was like, you know what? I think back to it, life was long. He's like, I can't even remember when I was 15. They all were like, no, it's plenty long. I just squandered it.
Wow. That's a different way to look at it, because a lot of people they have the regrets and they have the things that they do there. I'd love for you to unpack this some more, because I think people struggle with this, and you're saying majority of people never find this. They never get to go live a life of service and do that. So if they're listening to the day and they're like, oh, okay, Roland, like, I'm buying into it. You got the evidence. You've talked to me. I hear what's happening. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Where should they start in their journey if they haven't even begun anything?
I have a precise answer for that. The problem is, if I say it, no one's going to do it. So I'm trying to think of another answer. But I'm going to say it because I just teased everybody. I have to say it. The answer's third-person journaling. And no one's going to do it because everyone's going to say, Roland, why would that help me find my purpose? Why would that help me find fulfillment? Why would that give me answers? Everyone just stop for a second and think about writing. How crazy is it? Here's a paper with nothing on it. And then shit gets on it somehow. Is anyone just thinking about that? Like, your little neurons fire with feelings, and then words get on a paper somehow. I mean, that's why people like journaling. So, everyone has like good intentions and they don't do it. I get up at 4:30 in the morning. You guys have probably seen this, me put this on my story. I get up from 4:30 in the morning every morning, and I write until 6:30 or 7. Every morning I write, and I have a bajillion different journal prompts that I write with. And the reason I do that is I have done it so much that I have a relationship with my, mind, consciousness that people don't have, because I practice so many times daily creating something on a white piece of paper that never existed, that I can almost, after doing this for probably almost 8 years now, I can almost like hear my consciousness in my own head. So imagine if you can hear that. And I don't have a particular religious affiliation, but I'm of the belief that consciousness isn't an accident. It's something. No one really knows what it is, but it's something. It's something bigger than the things that we know to understand. So if you could have a better relationship with that thing and hear it, wouldn't you make better decisions?
100%.
So that's the answer. I mean, and like I said, no one's going to do it. But so what is third-person journaling? Third-person journaling is writing about Brian. Brian did this today. Brian felt really accomplished today. My guess would be it was because Brian did this and this and this with his time, and he went and he took an extra long lunch and had lunch with his daughter, because his daughter was home. He knew his daughter was homesick from school. So you're writing about what Brian chose to do with his life in third person, and so it just gives you this interesting relationship with yourself. Like, maybe you're not who you think you are.
I think for a lot of people, they do struggle with journaling, and they're looking at it going, oh man, I don't want to do that. And I do believe that is subconscious, conscience, all that. And like, God will give you things through that if you slow down. And I know this for me, when I slow down enough, there's clarity that comes through that does not come when the noise is around. It doesn't come like I'm out working out. Sometimes when I'm running, I share this. I don't know if this happens to you when you're working out, but it's like sometimes these moments of clarity when I'm away from the noise and I go, man, that was a really cool thought. And most people never slow down to even allow that thought to come through. And then furthermore, to write it. So I'm going to take a step further, because you've been doing this for 8 years. Can you tie it to results? Do you measure it? Do you feel like, not even a feeling, can you say, okay, after 8 years, like there are seasons that you're experiencing more success because of that? It prompted an idea, an action, something that came out of it.
Oh, 100%. And here's the easiest way to say it is, before I lived like 99.9% of everybody else, which was I was searching and seeking for what to do to be happier, be more fulfilled, be wealthy. Imagine if you trusted yourself, though. Eckhart Tolle says the world's full of seekers, but very few finders. Mm-hmm. It's my belief that if you can learn that you are here for something and you can start to listen to it rather than obsessively hiring coaches and obsessively reading every book. I mean, you know me, I've had the same coach. I've had two coaches in my life. Both of them I worked with one for over 5 years now, this current one for over 7 years. Same coach. Mm-hmm. I read the same 20 books on repeat. RolandCochrun.com/blog/read are the 20 books. I don't listen to podcasts, no offense, even though I'm on a podcast.
It's okay.
I just quiet the noise because I'm less interested in what everyone else is doing with their life, and I'm paying more attention to what I was sent here to do. And I found that more challenging the more crap I put in my head, because it just makes it harder for me. And so that's what I would say is the ROI is different. If you're measuring it monetarily, I'm going to tell you right now, there's no promise that your purpose is going to make you a ton of money.
Right.
There's no promise for that. I can promise you this, though. It will give you a sense of fulfillment that is better than money.
Mm-hmm. And you know the people that have
make money. So
I was going to say, many times they will, and to your point earlier, many people don't find it until their 40s or 50s. And you look at the average millionaire wasn't created. I think the number I saw there was like late 40s. Mm-hmm. And you start to realize, man, there's this social pressure of, I got to do this in my 20s because all these other people are doing it.
You know what that does, though? You now save, you buy rentals, which I know we're probably not supposed to badmouth rentals because we're in a podcast where that's probably, but like, guys, you parking $300K somewhere for $410 of cash flow. I can think of so many other places to put $400,000 that will give you cash flow now, so you can go to the Amalfi Coast today and Switzerland now, rather than this duplex that's gonna somehow be paid for in 30 years. I just take that $300K and invest in coaches. That's what I did. I spent my first $500,000. I didn't buy any condos and multifamily, all this nonsense. I hired coaches, and now I have so much money that I can't invest it fast enough every month. And that's because I am a machine who knows how to do stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of, that, because to your point, that constant stress of I need money now, I need money now, I need money now, you just turn into like an AI who makes money. And next thing you know, you're 50 and you don't really have a genuine thought in your head.
And they skip the steps. And I love that you shared that, because I think about my sports days to now. It's like, there's no way. The athletes I was around, I was like, had they not had the coaches around them, they don't get to the performance level that's there and what they're able to acquire through those experiences and what's happening. And I love that you break that down too, because people skip this step. And I always start, if you're not investing in yourself and you haven't gotten to a certain level, and we all know like there is a certain level that you understand who you are, what you were called to do, all that. And you're out now just like slinging money, hoping these things are going to make you feel fulfilled, or you're like, yeah, I got 1,000 doors or whatever your claim to fame is. But then you go home at night and you're like, I don't know who I am. I don't have a great relationship. My health's out of whack. Like all these things, like got this whole thing like backwards.
If you want 1,000 doors and you're fulfilled doing that, that's great. My issue is don't force that to be your purpose.
Yes.
if you're a real estate tycoon, and then go for it. I just, I find it really interesting that a lot of successful males have the same purpose these days. Seems a bit interesting to me.
Okay, so let's break that down, because we were talking before we went live. I'm like, do you feel like, it's just all right. It's so saturated in some areas. You tune in, you're like, man, it's the same message. And now the level of quality, the way people are filming, and you're like, man, if I just have a great camera, I have great sound, great lighting, all these things, like my message is going to land and it's going to magically give me business and make me feel fulfilled and all of this. And I go, dude, some of these brands, people can see right through them. Like they know if you're not you. And I always say, like, if I meet somebody in the street and you're not the same person that I saw online, I'm like immediately discredited. I don't know. It's like one of those, we have that sensor. So I'd love for you to talk about that today, because I think there's this great shift happening. We were talking about is we're moving out of this world. We're like everybody's got to create content. We went through that stage. Well, now there's a lot of people creating content. Some we'll just say subjective to if it's good or not. But where should people be paying attention today in what is going to happen?
So quick like exercise for everybody who's listening to this. So just think about it, right? There was once a day where the first TV advertising came out. What a big deal that might have been. And then there was the 10th, and then the 20th, and then soon you wanted to have a TV station to sell ads. So now we have 183 stations all being pumped full of ads. All the station cares about is how many eyeballs they have, because then they can approach Procter & Gamble and Kraft and say, hey, 10,000 people watch this at 11:20. They're of this demographic. Here's the price for 10 seconds of ad. Yeah. Okay, so that expanded. Now, how many of us are truly moved or pay attention to or influenced by television advertising? I would argue most people listen to this probably aren't. TV, radio, billboards. So essentially, the internet's it already happened. It just turned into the street, the TV, the radio. It turned into the next thing where everyone is. And so now everyone thinks there's this concept, and it's because technology is so elusive. There's this like belief that it's like, I don't know, I'm just gonna like hit play and like it's like, oh, every realtor in my market's gonna see this video when I hit post. And the truth is 8% of your friends and followers are gonna see it. Of those are gonna be 2 or 3 realtors, and the statistics really aren't in your favor. And so that's what I would say to it is it will only get more and more saturated every day as all these coaches are teaching people how to create content. So it's not going to get less saturated, it's going to get more saturated. So that's number one, just like every advertising platform. Number two, let's use our brains for a second and just think about what these things are. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, podcasts, these are platforms to express yourself. Mm-hmm. That's all they are. That is all they are. And so the post itself doesn't give you anything. The content in the post gives you the thing. And a lot of people are just content happy. They're outsourcing their content. They're, again, if it's not unique, and it's just one more post, I think you're doing more harm to your brand than benefit.
Let's dive into that further, because I think that's what a lot of people today, like, just called the mortgage business. We see a lot of the same posts, the same hook, the same deal, like talking about the same things, and I'm like, wow, like I wouldn't even want to watch, some of that. Just being honest, like I don't want to hear about that stuff.
Yeah, you think a realtor wants to see a post from a loan officer? Here's how I always break it down to loan officers, and here's their rebuttal to me. They're always like, Roland, everybody's doing it though. And I go, yeah, but that person was a $110 million producer before they got on social. The only reason they got on social was things slowed down so much in 2023. They got bored, and they work for a massive retail company who has money. It was like, hey, you need to get on social. You're making us look bad for not being on social.
Yeah.
But they were a monster producer with deep relationships before. And I say the same thing about cold calling. Like, oh, well, Roland, this guy says he makes 50 cold calls. Those ain't cold calls. That guy has sound relationships with these realtors in his market. It's far from a cold call. It's your friend who's a loan officer and he's very successful, who you probably hang out with, golf with, respect, is calling me. That ain't cold. That is called my friend, or this admirable person's calling me. And the same goes for content. It's just this pray and spray mentality. It's so easy, and everyone likes that story of, oh, I'm just going to post and I will get business. And that story has been sold hard. And so I empathize with a lot of the people who believed that story, because they said, well, Roland, I just went to this seminar and this conference, and this person on stage told me that was how it was going to work. They also sell a product to people who need that to work to buy their product. If they came up and said, statistically, the chances of you getting a loan from one of the viewers on this post, the chances of one of the viewers on this post having a U.S. passport is if they really broke down the math, no one would buy their product. And so, unfortunately, we have to consider the source. And I'm not discrediting a lot of these people, because a lot of them are my friends, and they're actually really good at helping you create content. What you just have to understand is you got to do a lot of stuff to get people to see it. And if you're not doing that stuff, which is expensive and hard, and then no one's seeing it. And so we just got to use our marketing brains when we do stuff, and not just blindly trust that it's going to work.
No. Well, let's talk about the do's and don'ts, because I would love to hear what you think loan officers going forward, what they should do, because that's a large part of our audience there, and what they should be doing, what they should not be doing.
Well, I'll speak, loan officers, yes, but this applies to any professional in professional services. So so pros and cons. So the pros of being in professional services is everyone knows what you sell. So everyone knows what a mortgage is. They know when they need one. You don't really have to sell that. It's like, okay, well, when I want to buy a home, I need a mortgage. Okay, that's the advantage of professional services. You don't really have to tell anyone about what you do. Whereas, when you're selling the brand new dye your mustache, healthy mustache dye, that's tough because you have to now educate them that the old mustache dye is bad. These new mustache, this organic mustache cream is good. Now you have to educate the population on something they didn't know about. And that's very, very challenging. It's very, very expensive. And a lot of companies go out of business. So the cool thing about being in professional services, you don't have to sell what you do. Realtors know what a mortgage is, bro. Like, that's just what it is. And so that was a roundabout way of answering your question, of basically saying, if you're in professional services, there are 200,000 other people in this country who do what you do. And in your market, there's at least 50, if not 100, 200, 300, 400. So I liken it to the cereal aisle. When you go down the cereal aisle, it is packed from one end to the other end in every store across the country. It's not a half aisle, it is a full aisle. Below you have the cereal that I'm not sure if somebody's buying it because they wouldn't keep stocking it. But you got the off-brand, you got the Cuckoo Puffs and the Special H, the off-brand. And in mortgage, realtors know where that line is. They're the loan officers you don't want to touch. They're just there for the money and they don't really know how to close a loan. And then there's the middle shelf and up, which is the name brand loan officers, the ones that everyone can tell, okay, this person has this, this, and this, and this. They take their job very seriously. So, okay, that's where you got to get good at your job to be on the above the middle shelf of the cereal aisle of loan officers. But then the question is, it's personal preference after that. It's personal preference. I want Apple Jacks because I'm young at heart and I don't really care about health. I care about my taste buds. Or you go down to this one's $13 and it's organic this and it's got flax that, and I buy that because I care about my body. Yeah. I care about what I put in my mouth the first thing in the morning. So now I'm going to buy this box. It's a reflection of you. So Seth Godin has a great quote. He says that branding, marketing is, people like us do things like this. And so as a loan officer, we got to change that to, does a realtor like that use a loan officer like me? And that's branding. That is branding. So that's every single piece of content that you create, every single branding thing that you push out, every single event that you host, anything that you do, ask yourself, do realtors like that work with a loan officer who sends something like that to them? And I will tell you what, the answer to most of what 99.99% of loan officers are doing, if that came across my desk and I was like a decent producing agent, I would laugh. I'd be like, you think I'm going to call you from this rubber ducky that you just sent me? And so that's the type of thing. We just have to honor the fact that realtors are people too.
I don't think people think about that. I always look, most of my business when I was producing, and even now I look at the leaders that we attract, because that's my targeted avatar, is typically that producing leader and leaders of teams. I always think about, what are they doing? What are their problems? What are their pain points? Where do they hang out? How would they dress? How do they talk? What are their interests outside of the mortgage business? What are their dreams and aspirations? And when you get so clear on those things, you're going to line up with some of them, and some of them are like, that ain't me, right? And I always share with people is I share a lot of my story, my family and things, because I go, that's what I'm passionate and care about. If that doesn't line up with you, good. We may not be right for each other, and that's okay too. How does a loan officer get clear then on their message so that then they attract the people they want to work with?
I say it this way. You're already who you are, so you just keep being that. And then here's my second answer to that. When people say, well, Roland, I don't have any interesting hobbies. I don't do anything interesting during the day. What if you don't do any of that stuff? Now what do you show them? You know, my answer to that is, can I cuss on this show?
Yeah, fine.
My answer to that is when they say, Roland, I don't have anything interesting, I say, well, you better fucking get an interesting life then. I mean, that's my answer to that is like, listen, if you aren't someone of substance and you're not spending your time challenging yourself, growing in some area, I don't care what it is, crocheting, I don't care if you make Comic-Con costumes for comics and sell them on Etsy. Do something cool that shows me what kind of parent you are, husband you are, wife you are, friend you are, entrepreneur you are. I'm of the, and everyone listen to me on this because I think I'm right. When in an ice cold relationship situation where two individuals who have never met each other in a professional environment, so you come to a gala, a networking group, a fundraiser, blah, 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 whatever. You come to this networking group and you are two professionals. One's a realtor, one is a loan officer. The first thing that person thinks about before they take an interest in you is, are we the same? So that could be that you invest in short-term rentals. That could be that you invest in multifamily rentals. That could be that you do CrossFit. That could be, but that's when you're an ice-cold professional, they want to know, are we of the same caliber? Mm-hmm. Do we read the same books? Do we have the same parenting philosophies? Do we honor our wives and husbands with the same candor? Do we in a relationship? That's what we look at. And so if you run in your mouth talking about what you do for a living, you're going to miss out on that critical element that I believe bonds professionals quickly. I think if you look at super successful professionals in referral-based businesses, that's how they scored the relationship was, I'm the type of entrepreneur who does this, 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 and this, and this. Mm-hmm. And that other one was like, oh, that's cool. I only do 2 of those, but I want to do the other 3 that you have. Or vice versa. Or, oh, well, you do those, I do these. Regardless, they're best friends now.
That's right.
And they're going to get the referral, not you bringing them to a lunch and learn, teaching them about this new, because here's the truth about mortgage, guys. A mortgage is a mortgage is a mortgage is a mortgage is a mortgage. There's no such thing as a free money. If there's a new product that's exclusive to your company, give it 3 weeks until every company has whatever that gimmicky thing is that you think you have. And realtors know this.
They do.
They know that a mortgage is a mortgage is a mortgage is a mortgage. So you coming in and saying, hey, let me tell you about this brand new mortgage that exists. They're like, yeah, what? So you took this fee and moved it over here, and then you took this part of the contract and moved it over here, and you put a new name on it. Yeah. I mean, they know this stuff, guys. So it's a waste of your time to talk about it.
It almost discredits them. I had a realtor share that with me the other day. They go, thank you for not sending me the newest program that you guys launched all the time. And you're always just reaching out, checking in on, hey, we can do this. Did you know that this changed? And it's never, hey, we have this ourselves. It's like, I just give updates about what's happening in housing and the industry and guidelines and such, because they are universal. Mm-hmm. I'd love to know, is it different what you just shared than someone sharing their values and what they believe? Or is that different? Because I've heard it said that way. And I'm just thinking through in my head is, if I'm sharing my values and what I believe, would that be similar to what you said? Would that start to attract the people?
I break it into 3 categories. So anybody who, and I think anyone who has a social media presence can use this exact strategy. Now let me preface why this works. I don't know why everyone doesn't know this. Guys, how social media works. Everyone just stop for a second and listen to me, because I don't know why this isn't talked about. You post the thing, the video, the post, whatever. I don't care what platform it is. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. They go to your profile. Everyone just listen to me on this. If they don't go to your profile, the video was a waste. They have now moved on to the next video. So the entire objective of content creation is that they click on your name. Is everyone hearing me on this? They need to come to your profile. If they don't, then that person is gone. If they don't follow you, they could be gone forever. Right. If they follow you, then okay, man, then you have a chance again next week when you post or whatever. But so my point of that is, when you are crafting content, your profile, post for your profile to convert, not for the feed. I'm going to say that again. When you post a post for your profile to look the way that you need it to look for your target referral partner. not for the feed. Very different posts. The feed is viral, gimmicky taglines. Posting for a profile to convert is, hey, if someone lands here, can they in 90 seconds know my background, what I'm building, what I've been through, my values, what I stand for, who I'm trying to become, how I enjoy spending my time. All that should be evident in 90 seconds. So here's how I have people do it. If you're in professional services, because no one gives a shit about what you do for work, 50% needs to be personal posts. Yeah. So I say every other. So every other post needs to be a personal post. How do you craft your personal posts? I make a chart. On the left side, I write, I'm this. On the right side, not that. That's personal branding. You tell people what you are and what you aren't. And your posts, your personal posts should do this. Don't just say, oh, we went to Disneyland last week. Beautiful day fishing. Like that little one sentence post everybody does. Oh, what a wasted opportunity. Tell us why you love fishing. Tell us why it was a perfect day on fishing. Tell us how you started. Like, use that post to tell us what you are and what you aren't. Next posting category, I don't call them business posts. I call them I get you, I got you posts. And the reason I call them that is I want you to wipe from your head this whole educate them idea. No one gets on social media to be educated. No one wants to be educated. They're getting on there to waste time at the doctor's office or before bed or early morning. I mean, that's when people get it. It's a time killer. Yeah. It's not like, oh, I can't wait to learn about buying my first duplex today. Yeah. So I call them I get you, I got you posts. The whole point of that is to speak to your audience. So if I was a lender, my ideal audience would be a real estate agent. So I'm going to post a post that says, I get you, I got you. So everyone will be like, oh, what's that? What's that? And they think about mortgage. Guys, you're both in the housing industry. Just use your brain. What are you both dealing with right now? Talking clients off the fence. So an I get you, I got you post would be, hey, guys, man, do you have people out there who are just hell-bent on rate? Well, here's the two different ways that you can approach that conversation. One is boom, 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 boom. Two is boom, boom, boom. And that's what me and my real estate partners have been doing to get clients off the fence video ends. So it's less about facts, tips and tricks. It's more about this is what I'm doing as a professional in this industry to make more money. And that should be every post. And then the last category is you should be posting about your purpose and your calling. Why? If you look at the beginning of every Disney movie, the mermaid, what are they singing about? Pocahontas, all of them. They sing about who they want to become.
Yes.
And then you are now bought in for the rest of the movie, even though you don't want to become whatever she wants to become, but you want her to become it.
That's right.
And that's why if you spend your time telling people, hey, this is what I'm trying to aspire to become I break it into business, relationships, self-care, and societal changes that I want to see happen. If you speak to all four of those, that will tell someone more about you than any of the other posts ever will.
That's so good. I'm not hearing anybody frame it that way, but as I'm listening to it, I'm like, okay, we do some of that. We don't do that. Yeah, we get that right sometimes. And so hopefully everybody's listening going, like, no matter where you are in your journey, there are things, if you go back and rewind that and make a note, I'm going to do that, and write out, okay, are we doing those and how consistent are we doing it? Because you're right, I've fallen in the trap of, man, we got to educate. And we hear that, especially in mortgage or financial services, all that.
Tips and tricks.
Yeah, we got to tell everybody this. We got to hook them on that and all this. Give a stat, give a great quote. I'm like, man, I don't really resonate with that stuff. But I do resonate with, I had a mentor share this, document what you're going through. And to your point, like you're documenting, okay, I'm dealing with this and so are you. And here's how we're overcoming it. And I go, man, I love that. Because chances are we're all dealing with something similar. We're not that unique in that regard. So if somebody's listening and they're going, okay, Roland, this is great. Now I'm starting to think about how often should I post? All these things people ask, what platform should I be on? And all this. I would love your take on it because I just sit back and I'm like, here we go.
Oh yeah. No, and those are because everybody always wants to bring it back to tactics, and understand because the tactics are the delivery tools. And so if you don't understand how the delivery tools work, a lot of the motivation and passion and follow through and commitment will waver, because it's like, and I think that's why a lot of people suck on social is they're doing the stuff they think, but a lot of them don't do it well. And I think it's because there is this insecurity of like, what do people want to see? Is anyone seeing it? Especially if you've been at it for 3 or 4 months and you haven't it hasn't monetized. Now you start to really second guess yourself. So I'm not going to answer it directly. I'm going to answer it more globally because I will do more people a favor by zooming out than zooming in. Yeah. Here's the truth. 2 things. One, you need to pick platforms that show you at your best. So if you are not a video creator, do not post videos. You guys are going to not believe this. I have one client out of all of my clients in my coaching program. It's not a huge program. I coach everybody myself one-on-one, so it's only capped at 30 people. But I have one client who makes videos. Everyone else posts still photos.
Really?
And they all make more money than the one guy who posts videos. So my point is, put yourself out there at your best. If you suck at video or it's awkward and you just can't help but make one that's really mortgagey and lame, don't make them. It is harming your brand. And everyone's like, well, Roland, isn't it better than nothing? No, not in a personal branded industry. It's not better than nothing. If it's not on brand, do not post it. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that people don't understand. And as a loan officer, your content is your brand. Yeah. It's like your actual job. Yeah, you're one of a billion. It's the stuff you post. So that's how I'll answer that is so 2 things. One, you pick the platform that showcases you at your best. And then the second piece is pick the platform where your people are. People are down on Facebook. Guys, realtors, if you're a loan officer, realtors are all about Facebook.
Yes,
they are all on Facebook and they're all active on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And so this obsession with like YouTube and Instagram, I get it. Go do it. You never know what platform is going to take off, so you want to be established on all of them just in case. But man, I'll tell you, where they are right now is Facebook. But that is a common question, Brian. And I run it. It's too bad that we're filming this when we're filming this. I actually have a course here in Nashville that I only do once a year. It doesn't make me a ton of money, so it's kind of more annoying than it is anything else. I just do it as a favor to people who can't quite afford for me to coach them. And in that course, it's 2 days. It's in person because Zoom's so hard to pay attention to, mm-hmm. and I need to protect my brand. So anybody who like signs up for something I do, I can't have them being like, it kind of works. So that's why I make everybody get your ass on an airplane, come out 2 days. And think about it. If I was to teach you on Zoom, you know how many hours that would take? You come out here, we fly, we spend 20 hours together, 2 10-hour days. It's done. It's created. We have that one-on-one connection. You could ask questions. But in that course, we review the platforms. But the goal isn't do all of these. I mean, you could. The goal is which one we craft the brand first, and then we say which of these fits the brand we just crafted. Mm-hmm. Then we place it online where appropriate or offline. I mean, I would still say some of the most lucrative marketing strategies in mortgage are boots on the ground.
100%. So we had this epiphany the other day. I spoke at a mortgage bankers event, 160, 170 people there, like great turnout, all this. The absolute best use of my time, didn't cost me any money, mm-hmm. it was local. The amount of my targeted audience was there, mm-hmm. And I told people, I go, that's better than a year of social posts.
100%.
And people are like, what are you talking about? I remember sharing that and people are like, I don't get it. I'm like, guys, I love that you said that because you're doing both of them. Maybe you're going consumer direct. And so YouTube is like a nice platform for that. Maybe it's Instagram because you're consumer direct. You said, where do my referral partners hang out? Facebook. Mm-hmm. Like, unless you know this and are studying those trends, you should be able to adapt. Like, we just had a meeting before we got together. And I'm like, LinkedIn, I'm going to change my messaging and how I'm showing up on LinkedIn because I've noticed some trends and some things on LinkedIn. What's happening mm-hmm. there? So let me expand on that for people because mm-hmm. I do think there's this convergence going forward. We talked about a little bit beforehand is people are just kind of posting and praying that that's going to get them to this level of success.
I call it. Yeah. Pray and spray.
Pray and spray. And I go, look, people still want to see you in person. You still need to show up to these events. And I'm seeing this surge. We have a couple guys on our team actually doing this really well. And they're doing, like cards and coffee or cars and coffee or whatever they want to call it, right? But they're doing these in-person events. And they only have 15 or 20 people. But those 15 or 20 are moving the dial. Whereas they could go post and have 300 people look at their post online, which would be good, right? I mean, that'd be pretty cool. But those in-person events, people are missing these.
Mm-hmm. Well, and think about it too this way. We've got to follow. I'm a big so much of my success comes from just adhering to principles. It's so easy to want to post. It's so easy to want to make a YouTube channel because somebody said to make a YouTube channel. But if you adhere to the principles of life, of business, of marketing, they never change. And so what I mean by that is, if we look at, the topic that you posed was boots on the ground. You can mimic boots on the ground stuff online. You can, and here's how I'll explain it. Again, back to the principles. When we look at economies and how they evolve, the earliest economies, our scarcity was, again, coming back to Maslow's pyramid, our scarcity was safety. So if I tried to give you a Rolex, you'd have been like, bro, what am I going to do with Rolex? Like, you got 50 chickens? I'll take 50 chickens. That's right. But you got a Rolex. I don't need a Rolex. Well, then we migrated into a new economy where the scarcity, we had a ton of inventions. The scarcity was people didn't know about what options were out there. So we saw salesmen, saleswomen, TV advertising, radio advertising. It was all about pairing a person with a problem to a business with a solution. So that was the connection economy, and that boomed. That was like 1930s all the way up until probably the early 2000s. Then we had a new scarcity. People didn't feel seen. People didn't feel heard. So Mark Zuckerberg, genius, came out and gave everyone a platform to feel seen and feel heard. And we have never seen a product in history get adopted faster than Facebook. Yeah. I mean, they went from 0 to 2 billion with a B in just record time. And it's because Mark did something that we all need to do, which is he stayed in the humanity of humans, which he recognized. What's the new need? In a world where we have an abundance of everything, what is the new scarcity? Esteem. Yeah. That was the new scarcity. So I say this to say, when we are thinking about what to do with our referral partners right now to become that lender of choice or just referral subject of choice, we have to adhere to the same evolution of the economy. The word economy comes from the Latin term meaning scarcity. So an economy is formed when there's a scarcity that humans feel. What's at the top of the pyramid? Self-actualization. We are in the first time in history where humans have an overabundance of everything you could possibly imagine. Honda Civics are so nice. That Honda Civic, the new Honda Civic, is nicer than my first R8.
Oh yeah.
They've
come a long way.
Incredibly nice. And that's my point, is just like, toasters have like a touch screen on them. I mean, just we're getting to a point where we don't have a whole lot of problems. But if you look at humans are humans and they'll never change. That missing piece is self-actualization. It's their purpose. People want to know, who am I? Why am I here? What have I been called to do? What is the perfect job for me? So to answer back to your question, when we're looking at the most effective techniques, it's the humanity. And you know what? I saw this trend going on, and I thought it was going to happen slow. Then I saw AI coming in and essentially making everything that humans spend their time doing become irrelevant. I think what's going to happen very, very soon, if not already, is AI is going to strip everything that humans were wasting their time on, and the only thing that AI will never be able to do is be human. And so there's going to be this new need to connect in a human way, and robots will never be able to do it. They'll get close and they'll pretend, but they'll never be able to truly provide the true effect of to your point, a 10, 15 person dinner event. Yeah. I mean, that's something that we were hardwired to do. And I believe it's the only scarcity that we have today.
I love that. I love the history of it too, because I think a lot of people don't know it, one, but two, it'll kind of educate them on where we are and what's happening. And we could jam forever on the AI piece, because I think a lot, they're talking about it. They're like, yeah, we're doing this, we're doing that. And I'm like, most people don't understand it yet. And I think it's evolving. But I did love the humanity side, and it really points back to everything that we've covered today about when you show up as your authentic self, you know who you are and what you believe, and you share that with other people. You're going to have people in your life. Now, whether that's enough people or not, I think that's a repetition. Like, how much are you out there in the frequency in which you show up? I'm like, well, if I worked out once a week, I would get sort of fit. Worked out twice a week, 3, 4, 5. The more I do those things that are working, the outcome gets better as they move through it. So Last tip for people, financial services. I know we speak to a lot of mortgage originators.
All the same stuff, honestly.
I look at it the same way too, right? Because I talked, a lot of my friends are financial services. I'm always asking them, hey, what are you looking at? What do you think? Because I'm always like, man, I'm talking to mortgage people all day. And you almost fall into the trap of, well, that's just the way it is. Maybe it's not. So what should they be paying attention to as they go forward in 24?
Because we have democratized basically everything, marketing, I mean, you name it, we have beat it to death. It's just the fast-paced nature of of the world we live in now. We've beat everything to the ground. People are sick of being in funnels where they get nurtured on text and email. People are they're just tired of all of it. I say it this way. My mom's one of the most oblivious people you will ever meet. If my mom knows she's in a marketing funnel, everyone knows they are in a marketing funnel. And so my point of that is, we're in a world where all of the fancy gadgets and techniques and email campaign this and webinar that, it's just been all done. And I fear that / happy that we've done that. I fear that we've done that because I feel really bad for a lot of people who are really, really behind and needed that stuff to work, because if you haven't realized already, when you look at your bank account, it's not working anymore. And that's not unique just to mortgage because of the market that we're in. I honestly don't see this changing. I think that when rates drop and inventory climbs, I think people are shopping differently. They're not impressed by your neon light behind your head with your grass wall and your podcast studio in your basement. It's just, there's a lot of those now. And so we cannot rely on stuff to prop up our credibility. I say it this way. If all it takes is swiping a credit card, then you don't get credibility for it anymore. And that's the thing. In a 2-day shipping world, you getting a microphone is 2 days away and a credit card swipe from having a microphone and a fancy ring light delivered to your house. And so if we can get fancy, and anyone can do it from anywhere in the world, and we can do it from swiping a credit card, you can't lean on those things to make you look better anymore. So my tip for everyone is, in a world where no one's impressed by anything anymore, there's just one thing that's left to be, and that's you. Because the one thing that we will be forever and will not change is human beings have needs, motives, and desires. That's all there is, and your referral partners are humans with needs, motives, and desires. So everyone's always like, well, what do we do from a mortgage? What do I do from a career standpoint? I say you don't, because no one cares what you do for work. They want to know, what are you doing to find your purpose? What are you doing to have a more fulfilling relationship at home? What are you doing to raise your kids better and protect them from all of this stuff and raise them to be individuals? Those are the conversations that everyone wants to have right now. And if you're my homie and you happen to be a loan officer and I happen to be a real estate agent, I'm going to give you all my deals, because why would I give them to somebody else? So that's my tip there is, there's enough people in your market to make you tons of money who like someone like you. So spend more time being yourself and less time trying to be everyone else. Here's the most tightest way of saying it. You have 40 people in your market who are of decent producers who are going to refer to you exclusively. 40. Right now, you probably only have 6 or 7 of them. So you need to be yourself in front of all 800. I imagine it like a signal flare. You're blasting it up for all 800, and then those 40 will go, oh, that's my kind of guy. That's my kind of loan officer. That's the woman I want to work with. And those 40 will all come. So that's when I think of branding, I stay true to my brand. I blast my flare up, and I don't let anybody tell me what my flare should look like. I blast it up every day over and over and over and over and over. And I've done so for so long that anyone who likes a Roland is sending me business, and that's my message to everybody. You would hear the second you start deviating from that, you'll get 38 of them. You deviate more, you'll get 35 of them. You do what most loan officers are doing right now, you'll get 5 of the 40, and your bank account will reflect that.
Dude, I love that. That's like a master class today. I'm glad you shared some things that, truthfully, are going to be a little bit polarizing for some people to listen to today. And they're like, but Roland.
I don't have a lot of friends.
No, and that's okay. I can't remember who it was that said, I would rather have, I don't know if they like advocates versus friends or something to that degree. And I go, and I think about that too, as people that believe and have the same core values and are going that same direction versus if you have a bunch of yes people around you just going, hey, what you're doing is great. That's awesome. That's awesome. And everybody doing the same thing. I am so excited for this divergence to happen of like people to step out and actually show us who they are, because I don't really connect up to these educational, like tell me about mortgage programs. I read some of the posts. I'm like, guys, let's be better. And so I love what you shared today because it's going to help people become better. They have to choose to do it. Then they have to follow up and act on it. And so I think it's something that in our industry, we're going to see dramatically changed, because you've got retail being challenged. You've got these middle managers that are going to become extinct. I've been talking about that. But then you have these other people that I'm looking at going, you have a chance. You have a shot. If you go this way, you're going to follow everybody, right? And it's going to look the same. To your point, your bank account looks the same. But if you decide to go the path over here that's less traveled, that's your path, you find your 40 people.
Humans will never be eliminated. Who I worry about are the people who don't do a lot of human stuff, because I'm just not sure what you do that's not going to be replaced. I mean that. I think a lot of the people in professional services, of all professional services, it's the amount of jobs are going to start getting less and less and less and less. And everyone always says, oh, people don't want that. I go, guys, people want cheap and companies want more money. And if that's always the case, which it is, if someone can do it who's automated and free, which is trending that way, that's going to happen. So do human things. What's human things? Again, humans have needs, motives, desires. Figure out what yours are. You will always have a job if you have those things, because there's always jobs for humans. The people who have dehumanized themselves and don't really have a genuine thought in their brain, I worry about those people for sure.
Yeah, we're watching it happen right now. We're going to have you back and do another workshop. I know you've got stuff. We're going to include links. You got the workshop coming up. You got your coaching program, which I obviously want to plug. We'll send people to you on social so they get it. But dude, thank you for just pouring in to our audience, because I think this is a message I was looking forward to, honestly, because it's different than what some other people say. And I'm always going, hey, if it's different, it's one of our kind of cultural statements at Revolution. I'll go, if it's different, it kind of pulls me over there like, well, I want to know more, right? So thank you for being you. And we didn't get to cover a whole lot of other stuff, but people will get to. But I love the value you dropped today, so thank you.
Yeah, we'll do it again soon.
Oh, yeah.
I got a feeling we could do like another 5 hours of these. So, but thanks,
I feel
Brian.
like we're going to be doing some things together.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
This is good. Well, guys, this has been another episode of Finding Your Competitive Edge. So if you listen to Roland, which I know, if you stuck around to this point, you've heard some things that I hope they did stir up something in you. We're like, well, do I believe that or not? And what we're always trying to do on the show is get you to think and to make decisions and choices on your own and go, hey, I'm not just going to follow what everybody else says or what I've been told for all these years. I find the most intelligent people are the ones that can change a belief, because they're given new information. They go, hold on, I thought it was this, but now I've been given this new piece of information, and maybe it is that. And maybe something that Roland shared today, you're going to go try. I know for me, I can't wait to go back and take some notes and go through this and go, hey, we're doing a few of these, but we're not doing some of the other. And I know with what we're doing and the success we're having building the brand here, there's a whole lot of stuff I go, man, we got work to do. And so I hope you feel the same way. That's why we show up and do these shows, is I want you to live your best life and to take action, because as you heard Roland early on in the show, this stuck with me, 20s, 30s, 40s, people that were near dying, they all wanted to make sure they had more value and they had spent those years doing the things that mattered to them. And so I want you to do that today. Always leave us feedback. Let us know how the show impacted you. If you've got questions, follow up. We're going to put links in there, how you can connect up with Roland. I love following his information too that he shares. And I'll just say information because it's not always this testimonial or all these different things. It's information that have a choice to go, does this apply to me? How do I use that in my own life? And we hope you would do that today. So thanks for tuning in. And as always, go out there and do something great in the service of other people. You're going to find you actually get to live a life worth living. So create it by design, InDesign. We'll put it in there. See you guys in the next episode. Cheers.